The Boer War was the last conflict involving Britain before the outbreak of the Great War on the 4th of August 1914. In this next location, I am standing with Aberdeen Harbour behind me, and I'm looking out towards the North Sea. Thanks to the oil industry, which took over from fishing as the main industry some 50 years ago, Aberdeen Harbour remains one of the busiest in the United Kingdom. If I had been standing here in early August 1914 and could have seen far enough out to sea, I might have seen ships of the Grand Fleet sailing to their battle stations in Scapa Flow in Orkney. Scapa Flow was the home of the Grand Fleet during the Great War and also was used as a naval base during the Second World War. Scapa Flow was of great strategic significance because it was ideally positioned to intercept German warships leaving German ports and sailing across the North Sea into the Atlantic Ocean. On the 30th of May 1916, the Grand Fleet under the command of Admiral Jellicoe set sail from Scapa Flow to engage the German High Seas Fleet at the inconclusive Battle of Jutland. The Grand Fleet of battleships would be joined in this task by Admiral Beatty with the battle cruiser fleet, which was based at Rosyth on the River Forth. This would be the only occasion during the 4 years of the Great War that the two fleets would meet head-on in battle. No fewer than 3 British battle cruisers were sunk by accurate German shellfire with heavy loss of life. One of those sunk was the Queen Mary, which blew up with the loss of 1,266 lives. Her wreck was discovered in 1991 and rests in pieces, some of which are upside down, on the floor of the North Sea. Queen Mary is designated as a protected place under the Protection of Military Remains Act 1986, as it is the grave of those 1,266 officers and men. What passing bells for these who die as cattle? Only the monstrous anger of the guns, only the stuttering rifle's rapid rattle can patter out their hasty orisons. No mockeries now for them, no prayers, no bells, nor any voice of mourning save the choirs, the shrill, demented choirs of wailing shells, and bugles calling for them from sad shires. What candles may be held to speed them all? Not in the hands of boys, but in their eyes shall shine the holy glimmer of goodbyes. The pallor of girls' brows shall be their pall, their flowers the tenderness of patient minds, and each slow dusk the drawing down of blinds. The Royal Navy also had a much less glamorous role to play, and that was to intercept merchant ships bound for Germany. The Royal Navy also intercepted merchant ships bound for Scandinavian countries if the ultimate destination of their cargoes was Germany. The aim of this course of action was to deprive Germany of the raw materials for waging war. But it went much further than that. Grain and other essential foodstuffs bound for Germany were confiscated, with the aim of starving Germany into submission. Germany responded to this act of aggression by the Royal Navy by sowing mines. And when a British cruiser, the Amphion, was sunk by a mine, Britain took advantage of the event by notifying all neutral nations that Germany had sown mines indiscriminately, and that as a result, the North Sea would be declared a war zone. On November the 2nd, 1914, all neutral merchant ships began to be turned back. In 1915, Germany employed U-boats to sink merchant ships bound for Britain. As an island nation, Britain relied heavily on transport by sea to obtain necessary imports. As the associated PowerPoint will demonstrate, Britain needed to import a high percentage of certain food materials from Canada, America and South America, since its own production was insufficient to meet the needs of the population. At first, restricted U-boat activity was employed. The U-boat would surface, establish the identity of the merchantman, and if British, the crew would be given a chance to disembark and man the lifeboat before the merchant ship was sunk by shell fire. There was no need to waste torpedoes unnecessarily. Soon, unrestricted U-boat activity was introduced, and merchant ships, regardless of their nationality, were sunk without warning. On the 7th of May 1915, the Cunard liner the Lusitania was sunk by a torpedo with heavy loss of life. 1,198 men, women and children perished when the ship sank in less than 20 minutes. This heavy loss of life was greeted with outrage and actually resulted in U-boat activity temporarily cutting back, with the resumption of more restricted activity of U-boats. Shall life renew these bodies? Of a truth, all death will he annul, all tears assuage, and fill these void veins full again with youth, and wash with an immortal water age. When I do ask white age, he saith, not so. My head hangs weighed with snow. And when I hearken to the earth, she saith, my fiery heart shrinks, aching, it is death. Mine ancient scars shall not be glorified, nor my titanic tears the seas be dried. All this changed again in 1917, when once again unrestricted U-boat activity was reintroduced. The aim was to sink sufficient tonnage of shipping to starve Britain out of the war. And when that was done, Germany would turn her attention against the French. But American merchant ships were sunk, and American sailors' lives were lost. And at last, the United States of America entered the war. This was a huge mistake on the part of Germany.